Hey everyone, I'm Alex. I'm the CEO and founder of Scale AI, and I'm sitting down here with Toby Espinoza, VP at DoorDash, and I'm so excited to be chatting with you today.
Excited to chat with you, Alex. It's always a pleasure. Nice to meet everybody, and welcome to this event. It should be fun.
Toby, you've worn lots of different hats at DoorDash, and I've just been so impressed by you and your operational abilities ever since I met you. So, tell us a little bit about your journey pre-DoorDash and at DoorDash, and we'd love to learn about it.
Absolutely. So I appreciate that, Alex, and I thank you for hyping me on this the virtual fireside chat. My name's Toby. I've been at DoorDash for around 6 years. I'd like to say when I joined DoorDash, we weren't even the largest food delivery company in our hometown of Palo Alto, which also happens to be my hometown. There was a competitor who was actually beating us in market share. And since I joined, my first job was launching new markets. So I would live on the road, live in the office, turn on new markets for DoorDash in Phoenix, Atlanta, and Vancouver. And then very early on, we saw something very interesting going on, which was whenever we would turn on a new market, large enterprise restaurant chains, so think McDonald's, Panda Express, Jack in the Box, Chipotle, whenever we would turn one of those restaurants on, we would see a ton of consumer activity. So a lot of consumers would come to the site, merchants would perform really well, and our volume would spike. And so very early on, we were always looking for ways to scale our business. And one of the early ways we saw was this little business, which we eventually became the enterprise restaurant business, which was going out and getting the largest restaurants on our platform. And so I kind of built that with a small, amazing team from just 3 of us to around 120 folks over the last 4 years. And we also, with that business, then went into grocery, so partnered with large grocers. We then partnered with large retailers, a lot of things to come there, and then kind of took it international. So we went to Australia and we went to Canada. With a lot of the same first principles that we had when we were founded, and being merchant first, thinking about all sides of the marketplace, dashers and consumers. And lately, I've been working on, for the last 12 months, a new project that is a new business we're super excited to launch at some point in time. And yeah, that's been my journey. And I've gotten to hang out with you every once in a while, which is fantastic.
Oh, so sweet. But it's incredible. I think to your point, I think what DoorDash has accomplished just in terms of ability to expand and grow and continue going into new verticals, new categories, new businesses is just really incredible. And so I actually want to start there and spend a beat on that. DoorDash started by facilitating door-to-door restaurant delivery.
Yep.
And as DoorDash continues to grow, how do you all think about developing new products and new services?
Yeah.
You guys are launching a lot, and it's been super exciting to see. And it sounds like you guys have more stuff to launch. Like it's been really incredible. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I mean, I thought a lot about this as you kind of have this core platform, and then you're trying to expand new businesses on top of this core platform. And it's frankly a lot of even the way we think about launching new business, also using AI and technology to scale new businesses are actually kind of similar pieces, similar sort of philosophies, which is solve a problem, figuring out if you can create it into a process and then scale it over time. For us, our business was actually founded to empower local economies, period. So when Tony, Stanley, and Andy founded DoorDash a long time ago in Palo Alto, they were actually going door to door trying to figure out what was the largest problem they could solve for local businesses. And it actually just happened that it was delivery. So first use case of delivery for local restaurants who were turning away revenue because they didn't have the kind of technical capability or infrastructure to fulfill those deliveries. Seemed like the largest problem at the time. It was the largest problem at the time. And so we kind of founded that core business, that core DoorDash marketplace that you alluded to. And then as we've continued to expand, I think the way that we've done this is very simple. Very similar to the way you work with, I think, a lot of your customers, is customers come to us with a problem. So it could be our core merchant customers. So a local business has a problem. A great example of this is DoorDash Drive, which is our white label capability. Merchants wanted the ability to fulfill their own deliveries, or they wanted to own the consumer channel on their website. So think papajohns.com or walmart.com, they wanted the ability to deliver their own products, but didn't have a fleet to do it or didn't have the logistics capability to do it. And so they asked us, could we step in and build that for them? And we did. That's one example. Another example could be in the kind of core consumer experience. Delivery for the end consumer can sometimes feel, if you're ordering a $15 burrito and you have to pay $3-4 to get it to you, it can feel like some sort of hurdle that you have to go over. And so, we built and did a ton of user research on, well, what if we did a subscription service where for $9.99 you could get unlimited delivery for every transaction? Could that work? Could that work with all sides of our ecosystem? And so we went out and we built that business. And so we do a very simple process of, what is the problem for one of our core customers? How big is this? So is it a large enough business opportunity for us to dive head in first? And then do we have a competitive advantage? And if we do, if all those things match, it's kind of like, you're in Vegas and you see the slot machines and they go ding, 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 they all match. And then we move forward. And we've been very blessed to have fantastic people at DoorDash, great operators, great product teams, great engineers that have then gone out and fulfilled on the dreams of our customers.
It reminds me a lot of at least what's been written and said about, how Amazon has approached this problem, which I think you and I, we both talked about this, how we admire Amazon and their growth trajectory. But, they have a similar thing where they have this PRFAQ process. They try to identify customer problems that are big and meaty as markets to solve. And then they go after them. One aspect I'm curious about is how do you weigh and take into consideration all three of DoorDash's key stakeholders? I think one of the uniquenesses about DoorDash's business is just that how, it is this three-sided marketplace with merchants, customers, and dashers. So how do you take them all into account?
It has to be a balance, right? And I think this is often our perception of business generally is, or kind of the way the world works is you have some sort of problem, you just go headfirst into it, and you kind of forget about everything else on the sides. And in reality, you and I both know that that's not actually how it happens. You have stakeholders everywhere. You need to work really hard with your customers. You need to work cross-functionally internally. And in our case, we just have an incremental customer. We have a three-sided marketplace instead of a two-sided marketplace that we have to think about. And it can be challenging. I mean, I think the beauty of our organization and working with a lot of people, we've been privileged, as I said, to work with some of the same people for the last 6 years of my life, is that as long as you trust the people that you work with and also trust the other sides of the marketplace and respect them, then you can do great things. But often solving a problem might start with one side of the marketplace. So in the DashPass example that I alluded to, we started with the customer first, thinking, how do I drive incremental economic value for our customer? For pickup, that was the same way that our pickup business was built, which is now the largest pickup marketplace in the country. And then at the same token, we have merchant first businesses, the Drive business that we started. And so I think it wholly depends on who we're thinking about first. But then as we start to scale that business, we then try to make sure there has to be a check and balance to make sure that all sides of the marketplace work with this. And so that's a little bit about the way that we do it. And I'm curious, from my vantage point, I know you have been a student of DoorDash, but I've also been a student of scale and you for quite some time. And I know you started on data labeling, but you're also, the speed of execution of launching new products is also pretty incredible. And so how are you thinking about taking that kind of first core business and then launching new products and suites at the same time you're also launching new categories?
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of parallels between what you had said, but I think that, our mission is to accelerate the development of AI applications. So I think that, we really view AI as the greatest secular shift in technology that will happen over the next few decades. And we're just, our goal is to help that happen as quickly as possible, help AI be applied to as many use cases as possible over the next many decades. And so the story of how I came to start Scale was that, I was at MIT, I was studying AI and machine learning in a very theoretical fashion. It was super, super exciting. And, you could you could be a big dreamer and kind of imagine all the amazing use cases, whether that's in agriculture or healthcare or transportation, or, you know, the list kind of goes on and on. But I just realized very practically that there were hurdles along the way. In particular, there's a huge hurdle around data. In particular, just getting great data sets for to be able to build great machine learning on top of. And kind of, you know, similarly to your story about how DoorDash started, I think that, you know, scale was similar, that, you know, we knew what we wanted to do was enable AI applications to happen more quickly. Yeah. You know, we like to say this thing at scale, which is that, you know, if software is eating the world, AI is eating software. And so we really think about it as like, you know, it's this really important trend. And then we like blocked and tackled, like, okay, what's the biggest medius various problem that we can solve at the start? And that was really around data, because it was organizationally the biggest bottleneck. And that, you know, that was very exciting. That served us really well. We got started in the autonomous vehicle industry, which was probably the most heavy duty, most largest amount of data, most sort of safety centric, highest use case of AI. And then we've kind of expanded from there. And, you know, it really, for us, the way we view it is all about being customer centric, kind of as you mentioned. It's all about how do we solve and break down more problems for our customer, so that it is just easier for them to, easier for us to accomplish our mission through our customers, right? Yeah. And so the way we look at it, right, is that, you know, our mission is to continually take the hardest or meatiest problems that our customers have, and then build beautiful, elegant solutions and products to solve those problems. And then sort of keep doing that over and over again. And we think if we just do that and we just keep doing that over and over again, like that's kind of the virtuous cycle. And so a lot of this transitioning for us, we view this transition of going from a data annotation partner to our customers to a full AI readiness and AI infrastructure partner.
Interesting.
And you mentioned one part that I really agree with is, you know, you guys were thinking about you've built this amazing platform. How do you keep expanding out from that and keep helping your businesses? I think we think about really similarly. Like if we identify a customer problem that we know we can leverage either our technology, our expertise, or operational capability, we're game and we're going to build products. And so that's what we've done. You know, we launched Scale Nucleus to solve data management as a problem for all of our customers. We launched Scale Document to solve document extraction and document processing problems that we noticed across tons of our customers and ones that were, you know, holding back their businesses. We've built new products to serve e-commerce companies and marketplace companies. We built products to serve, our original customer set of autonomy with better mapping capabilities. And so in a very similar way that I think you mentioned early on, it's like, let's identify customer problems. Let's build beautiful solutions to them. And let's keep going.
And let's keep going. Yeah, I love that. I also love the story, which I hadn't thought about before, of focusing on, you focused very early on the self-driving car use case. That was the first use case, which probably at the time was one of the meatiest and hardest problems to solve. If you can solve that problem, much like delivering a pizza versus delivering a physical good, our analogy is a little bit different, right? One is a self-driving car where there's actual large problems being involved, and the other is a pizza. But in our mind, a pizza is the hardest thing to deliver because it has to get to you on time. It has to be warm. If you get a bottle of shaving cream delivered to you, it's okay if it shows up cold because you don't care. And so I love that you started with that first meaty problem, and then was able to kind of launch from there and work with your customers on finding those new businesses. It's really interesting. Just as an aside, what new business would you not say yes to then? Like if you think of, I'm your core customer and you have these capabilities, you have some of the smartest minds, what would you say, like what is not a new business that you would go into?
Yeah, well, it's always tough to be prescriptive about these things, right? Because I'm sure Amazon, early on thought there were things it would do,
totally.
It wouldn't do.
Totally.
A pharmacy, it's got a voice assistant. They have like grocery delivery. They have, now they have everything under the sun.
Totally.
So you never want to box things in. But for us, again, it's about servicing the mission, and it's probably the same for you guys.
Yeah.
Around, hey, if a product doesn't empower a local economy for DoorDash, that makes it unattractive, and it makes it something that it's not furthering the mission, it's not furthering the crusade, right? And for us, it's similar. Like if there's a use case where it's not helping AI achieve greater impact in the real world and greater impact with our customers, then we'd rather focus on problems where that is the case.
Totally. Makes total sense. Total sense. And that was a hard question. I understand. It's like if you asked me the same question, I would have probably answered it in the same way. So we can't be prescriptive. We can't say no to new businesses.
Now I'd love to segue to, we talk about AI and we talk about DoorDash, but we haven't talked about AI at DoorDash.
Yeah.
So I'd love to, first tell us a little bit about how DoorDash uses AI to solve problems, scale new businesses.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. And it's akin to, I think, the problem that you solved very early on, which was if we don't have a feed, if we don't have a feed of data, then how can we use AI to scale our business? And so, I'll kind of like, if you think about our core business, delivery for those folks on the other side of this chat listening, delivery is a very easy concept to understand, right? There is me ordering. We've all had it for decades and decades. It's me ordering a pizza on Friday night, clicking through, it goes to the restaurant, and someone delivers. But if you were to actually look at a map of all of the different things that need to go right in a delivery, it's pretty insane. And we actually have this visual at our headquarters. Think of the consumer ordering, taking time off. Maybe they're doing something on the side. It goes directly into the point of sale or maybe a tablet in the restaurant. Restaurant gets it. They start making the food. At the same time, we have to dispatch and make sure that a dasher shows up at the exact right time to pick up the food. And every one of these pieces of the story, there is something that could go wrong, or there's an opportunity where things can go right, so that by the time that pizza gets to us, it's warm, hot, and ready. And then think about that across all different types of products in the last mile: grocery, alcohol, et cetera. And so when you think of our business that way, I don't want to say infinite, but there are a very, very, very high number of opportunities for a company like us to leverage technology and AI to scale our business in a very fast way. And the way that we problem solve at DoorDash, akin to kind of your early founding story, is we'll put a SWAT team on a problem. So, we'll talk, maybe it's our white label business, or maybe it's our marketplace business expanding our marketplace business. And we'll put a team on it. It could also be, maybe there's an issue with menu accuracy, or maybe there's an issue with, there's a long dasher wait at the Cheesecake Factory in downtown San Francisco. And what we'll do is we'll put a small team on it, an operator, a product lead, engineer. They'll come together, come up with a small MVP, see if we can solve this problem with a bunch of duct tape is maybe the best way to think about it. And then if we can get the duct tape right, then from there, we'll say to ourselves, okay, can we scale this into the behemoth? Can we scale this into the platform? And the second that we scale it into the platform, then you see massive amounts of output. In our business, because of the complexity of it and because it's dollars and cents, rapid scale, those small changes to the small changes in our system, powered by technology with a massive amount of data, means a lot to us. I mean, that is really the core of what we're doing, which is finding cents and minutes, shaving these off over time, optimizing this massive logistics system first, massive marketplace system second, eventually now a massive software business as well, and to help us continue to build businesses. So that's a little bit about the philosophy and how we've done it historically.
I love it. And, I actually, as I've talked to enterprise leaders who are thinking about applying AI to their businesses, I think they face super similar challenges, right? Which is that, they have these huge businesses that were like, 1% or 0.1% improvements are huge, Huge. Like incredible. And the ability to, identify problems, test them at small scale and scale them up, it's so meaningful to business. And I love what you mentioned at the beginning. Like, it really depends on, you have all of these businesses running, and you need data feeds, and you need data to be able to, feed the beast of AI to make these things work in the first place. And so I thought that your framework was great. And I think it's a good framework for other businesses to keep in mind, is like, the places where you're really going to see gains and ROI from AI investments is when you like apply it to your behemoth of a core business.
Yes, 100%. And your core business, and then new use cases on top of that core business too, I think is a great opportunity. And I think, much like you said, if software is eating the world, AI on top is eating software. I think we will all see more and more massive gains for these new businesses sitting on top of platforms because of that exact dynamic. If we can scale to some small tweaks in our logistics algorithm, means we can now do grocery delivery and alcohol delivery and a bunch of these other things. And then we have this logistics engine that can pull in data to say XYZ dashers are alcohol enabled, and so they can do this delivery. You can then take that platform and turn it for any new use case. And I think it's a pretty cool opportunity to think about for any business leader.
Yeah, totally. And then how do you think about, like, you all are launching a lot of new products as well, right? Like we talked about, you're launching these new businesses, which may or may not, initially have the scale of the core business, and you may not be able to get that kind of leverage. How do you think about applying AI towards new businesses or new products? And do you think about it more as like enabling, new kinds of customer experiences, or do you think about it as just like getting the business on the rails where as it gets scale, you're going to get those gains from AI?
Yeah, it's a great question. This is like, I don't really think, well, there are some truly bad decisions in business, but most decisions live in the gray, and most of those gray things have to do with time. And so I think, like, when I think of applying AI to a problem, it's about time. At some point, every problem, most likely, you're the expert, will be solved by some sort of AI technology, right? Like, I don't doubt that. But a great example of this is DoorDash, and this is kind of a funny example. DoorDash was going, we got a call from a large customer. So DoorDash has a white label delivery business, which I alluded to before, which is basically, it's Dasher for order. Anyone can use our logistics system in order to fulfill their own needs. So Chipotle uses this. If you go to Chipotle, you use their app and you order, it's a Dasher. It's our kind of logistics engine in the background. A bunch of large grocery companies use this. Walmart uses it. Albertsons uses it to do grocery delivery. And even some marketplaces use it. Drizzly uses it, and others to do their own deliveries. And so this kind of drive capability, the early innings of this drive capability actually started because a customer, Wingstop, wanted us to build the small order fulfillment capability for them. And we really wanted their business on our marketplace. And so we went out and built them this business. And then the question for us was, can it scale? And it absolutely has scaled. We then got a call subsequently from a very large grocer. And me being the excited partnerships person that I was looking to sign a deal. So I said, absolutely, we can apply our white label technology to the grocery use case. Well, as you can imagine, it's very different as like any of us have picking up Chipotle or picking up from a very large grocery store. They're two completely different situations. One, there's a massive parking lot where you don't really know what door to go into. There's a much longer wait time, and the basket sizes are much larger. So think small Chipotle, I have a burrito, versus massive grocery order that's $150. And so we launched our MVP, put a SWAT team on it, launched our MVP, and the first car that came to pick up a grocery delivery order was a smart car. And for those of you that don't know what a smart car is basically like a small, tight little car where it fits two people. And guess what? Groceries didn't fit in the smart car. And so now, like at the beginning,
I thought you were going to say it was Tony's car, by the way.
It wasn't Tony's car. It was a smart car. And the thing about this is, and this is like a long-winded way of getting to the point, which was, we didn't have any labeling in our early kind of drive logistics capability because we had one use case, right? And so needing to teach our systems that we wanted to like assign a different type of dasher didn't really make any sense to us. That use case didn't exist. But the second that it hit us like a freight train, because now all of a sudden we needed a different permutation, basket size, or time of day, or pickup location, all of a sudden we had to start adding these labels. And the more labels we add to our system, now all of a sudden this engine can take control and continue to scale and continue to scale and continue to scale. And so it's an example where I think in many cases AI will be necessary for almost every business application. I think the question is at what time, and frankly for us, we both move very fast in business, so it's not like the time is decades. The time is months or years when you start using the technology to scale a business.
Yeah. I mean, so it's, I love that example. By the way, I think that's like this, I also loved the way that you described how the white label business became used for grocery was just so, I think that's so elegant, right? That's why being, going back to the Amazon mindset, like that's why being customer centric is going to lead you to so many new businesses, so many new problems. And that just really exemplifies it. As you kind of look back, because I'm sure this was at the time just a total whirlwind, but what are some of those key lessons or takeaways from implementing AI systems in the white label business that you think other people can just learn from?
I think one should always ask the question. The beautiful thing about software is that software helps you scale. The beautiful thing about AI is AI helps you scale on steroids. And so I think for every business application that we go into, every problem that we're solving, it doesn't actually have to be a new revenue generating opportunity. I mean, there's many examples of a small feature for us. For a while we had Dasher wait time is is a metric that we track at DoorDash. Dasher wait time is exactly what it is. It is when Dasher shows up at a restaurant, the food's not ready, so they're waiting. Dasher wait time is hard for the entire ecosystem because it means our Dashers are off the road. So their time is not optimized. Consumers waiting for the food, and there's a problem with the merchant. And so we actually, particularly for QSR clients, where the food is actually made in minutes, in order to minimize Dasher wait time, we actually launched a small feature where when we send an order to a restaurant, that restaurant's tagged as a QSR, which means they actually don't fire the order until the Dasher breaks a geofence, right? Which minimizes our time. And that's an application that has nothing to do with revenue. Where we use a tagging system, you build it in the existing massive ecosystem in order for it to scale. And so my only advice, or looking back, the only thing that I think about is, just like scale was started. You started with one use case, one problem. It was a very meaty problem with a large market, and then you were able to apply that over time and scale it using fantastic technology. That's the same thing that I would do for pretty much every problem that one has to solve in business. It's the and mentality of doing the micro operator trying to solve a problem in the back room with a SWAT team, and then trying to figure out how to scale it. And the lucky thing for us is now we have technology that helps us scale it. So we don't have to, it's not just human capital that you have to put to work.
Awesome. Well, I want to actually transition to talk about how DoorDash uses AI to kind of scale the core marketplace into new categories. So, maybe first off, just for us to understand, DoorDash has a lot of different ways of expanding its business, but when scaling the core marketplace, are you focused more on expanding into new geographies or new categories, or has that changed over time?
Yeah, so I think from our vantage point, it is the, as I just referenced before, it's the and. We always think in the and philosophy, and I think it's healthy in some regards, and sometimes it's not healthy. But here in the world of business, it is healthy. And so when we think about the and, we do want to go to new geos. We just publicly announced 2 days ago, I believe, Japan. So we are now going to Japan. We are in Australia, we're in Canada, we're in the US, and we have ambitions to go elsewhere. But we also have ambitions to go deeper in our merchant cohort. So launching new businesses for restaurants that consumers may or may not see. So whether that be a white label business like DoorDash Storefront, where we power the kind of the software for any restaurant to run their own kind of digital business, to our Drive business, that's another example. And then we also have ambition to launch new businesses on the consumer side. And so that's going deeper and deeper into new use cases. I think yes, we started with restaurants and food. We just launched 12 months ago. We launched our convenience business, which is 7-Eleven and kind of those kind of snacking is in that category, and we are now the number one player in convenience. And then we publicly also announced that we're going into grocery. And in our mind, there are a certain number of eatable moments that every household has, and we want to just address more and more and more of those eatable moments. And then once we address eatable moments, then we'll go outside and think more about different areas of commerce. So whether that's pets or anything else, we will definitely try to do it.
The pets eatable moments.
The pets eatable moments, exactly. Whoever's around you, eatable moments, and then
the plants eatable moments.
Everything we do will be eatable. Yeah,
I love that. I love eatable moments. That's great. Very memorable.
Very memorable. But yeah, I think again, if we kind of go back, we just like scale, we think about our core customer, and we think like, what does our core customer need? And I don't know how many times. I mean, I think even we've been together on a Saturday, and the question is, does DoorDash have Crest toothpaste, right? And normally, historically, you have to think we didn't. We just had restaurants, and then we added Walgreens and CVS, and yes, now we do have Crest toothpaste, and so the permutations in the consumer's mind can continue to expand. But going back to kind of how we use AI to do this, I kind of talked a little bit about how we built the Drive platform to start getting labeling on the Dasher side to understand, is the fleet ready to do grocery delivery? Think about all the different permutations there. For alcohol, is the Dasher 21 plus? That's a flag. We have many, many Dashers who are under the age of 21. And so as we built those capabilities on the logistics side, we then kind of turned back around on the consumer side and said, well, if our consumers also want these things, all we need to do is then list them. But again, herein lies the data problem, which is I know Alexandr Wang's affinity groups for restaurants. I know Indian, I know Chipotle, I know a bunch of things. I do not know what you would like on the grocery side because I don't have any of that data. And so this is where kind of the ops and product thing have to come together to try to spur our consumers to come across and start ordering in new categories. We start learning much more about that consumer, and then we can kind of build more models to make every single time you open our app, you have relevant content bespoke to the user who's ordering.
Yeah, totally. And this is one of the big use cases for e-commerce companies and marketplaces, which is as you guys keep growing into new categories and keep growing your business with more merchants, the SKUs and options available on the platform are growing just exponentially.
Totally.
And you want to be able to still offer incredible customer experiences, incredible recommendations, incredible use of user affinity using AI. And this is actually the core problem that a lot of folks pull us into. It's like we have this exploding set of SKUs. How are we going to tag all of them, manage them, make sure we can properly understand what the user preferences are?
That's right. That's absolutely right. And then how do I help? If on top of that, if you want consumers to get better targeting, like better targeted things on top, that's another massive opportunity. But going back to kind of the former point, if you don't know, if you're a brand new e-commerce company and you don't know what your users want yet, then you actually can't apply it. And so again, I think every application will have an AI use case. It's just a matter of time. And again, that time will be weeks and months.
Yeah, totally. Well, what were some of the challenges that your team experienced when scaling the AI systems for the marketplace? Like, what were some of the hurdles?
Yeah, I mean, I think in any. So first off, I'm kind of glossing over the time aspect, but I think it's really important because, I think there have been examples recently when we're building new products where we will say, it looks like consumers don't want X, right? And we'll say, they really just, for whatever reason. But the problem is, like, our consumers actually just haven't had the ability to tell us, do they like X or Y, right? And so you can't actually build a model to say what this consumer would like if you have no data to tell you. And so I think timing is one of those very critical factors. I think also over time, your model might change, like preferences might change. And I think you need to be able to adapt. And then, as all things are, early when you're using technology to scale things, you might find edge cases. And I think this is a very interesting aspect. As we all use technology to scale our businesses more and more and more and more, we are all taught to look at averages. So we're all taught in school to look at averages and think about it that way. But the reality is, as technology scales, you should always look at the extremes. Because in those extremes, you'll probably actually find the best little nuggets to update your technology and to scale it further. And I think a lot of people focused on the sector in e-commerce and any sort of use case don't think in that way. And so training the next generation of operators who know how to use AI-enabled technology, and product managers and engineers, you have to start training them to look at that. Don't tell me the average on a weekly basis. Tell me the extremes and what is going on at the edges.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and I actually just spoke to somebody about this as this is like a school of thought and an operational mindset that we learned working with our self-driving customers and our autonomous.
Oh, interesting.
Because for them, they're trying to achieve these perfect driving systems, right? Because they have to be incredibly safe, as one might expect. Yeah. And so their life cycle and their operational life cycle and what we call their ML ops kind of life cycle was all about, we're going to drive our cars. We're going to identify what are the edge cases, what are like the rare cases, but the cases that are tripping up our vehicles. And then let's tie that back and let's figure out how we're going to rebuild our system to address those edge cases and then launch that as quickly as possible. Like, how can we do this in
that's fascinating,
days rather than weeks or months that it normally takes to update technology, and then keep going through this loop. There's actually this presentation from Waymo where they call this their ML factory approach to doing this, and even Tesla has talked about their data engine, but this operational mindset, which we did learn from like this heavy duty autonomy use case, exactly matches what you said, which is like identify the edge cases, identify the extremes, address them as quickly as possible, and build your system so that you can just keep cycling and keep moving.
Totally. And what's interesting actually about that is I love that example because in that instance, you're forced to. Self-driving cars, pharma, defense, you're forced to look at the extremes. E-commerce, we're not trained that way, right? We all fill out support tickets and we think about it, but we're not trained. We think, what is the core customer? Who is that core customer? What core problem are you solving? We're not trained to look at things on the sides, but we can take learnings. I mean, it's an interesting thing where you can, for your customers in e-commerce, can learn from your customers in self-driving.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. And I think that frankly, every business can learn from this approach because it's such a unique way of looking at it, but it makes sense in an AI context or an AI enabled framework, because all of a sudden you have technology that's going to allow you to deal with the common cases super well. And so how are you going to keep dealing with the extremes and keep tackling the corner cases?
Yep, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
Corner cases. You should do a blog on corner cases. I love that.
You'll co-author it with us, won't you?
Co-author, yeah, we'll do it. We'll co-author it together.
Exactly. Kind of on that thread, what other advice would you give to other marketplaces or e-commerce companies as they're looking to start or scale AI initiatives? How would not everyone sees the scale that DoorDash has seen, but because of that, I'm sure you have great learnings for the rest of the community.
Yeah, I mean, I'll recap the two that we discussed today, and then maybe I'll go for a third. I think the first one is everyone will use AI in their business, period. It's kind of like saying, I'm never going to use software. It's just that everyone will use AI, period. It's a question of timing and hills. So when you use it is the question. And so I think if everyone out there, every operator changes their mental model to, I will use this, it's a matter of when, that'll drastically change the way you run your business. Two, as we just discussed, I love this edge case thing. I think we hire a bunch of incredibly smart people from all top firms. And the first thing we have to reteach is don't show me averages, show me the extremes. Because in the extremes lie the truth. And what's funny about that is, as you said, like that will only become more pronounced as AI does the middle. So I think that's a very, very important thing for every operator, every product manager, every person in tech in any industry to think about. And then the third is how to find people that can do those top two things really well. And embedded in those top two things is the word and. And is the word that, like, it is a not either or, but it's and, which is one of our values at DoorDash. I think is going to be more and more important for every single person that works at our companies, regardless of what role you do or what role you have. And if you can find people that do both the diving really deep into the thing that doesn't scale, understanding the problem from first principles that doesn't scale, and then also can think about how to use technology and a team and human capital to scale something, those are the types of folks that you want around the table. And so those three things together, again, it's not do I need AI? It is when do I need it? Two is that what is two?
Two is extremes.
Extremes, exactly. Two is extremes, and three, that you need to find people that can do the and. I think those are the three things I'd leave everybody with. And hopefully DoorDash listens to those as well. You know, sometimes we go off kilter, but if we listen to those things, we'll continue to do quite well.
It's so incredible and like amazing insights. I mean, I think truly every business, whether or not you're a marketplace or e-commerce company or not, like can learn from those insights. And I love the framing of, you know, and finding people who have and in them.
Yes.
I think that it's such a powerful concept, but I think that like all of us know, you know, like I certainly know who I think of when I think about the Anders. I think of you.
Yep. Oh, there it is. And I think of you.
Thank you so much for taking time today, Toby. And frankly, what you and the team at DoorDash have accomplished is just absolutely incredible. It's really quite staggering. And going from what you mentioned, which is you know, the number 2 restaurant delivery platform in Palo Alto to obviously the global behemoth that DoorDash is now is just absolutely incredible. And I can't wait to use DoorDash in Japan.
Can't wait for you to use it too. We would love the order. And thanks so much, Alex, for having me. And so impressed with all the work you and the team are doing at scale. And excited to continue to watch you change the world.
Same to you. Let's get at it.
Let's get at it.